Today I am going to run 10 miles in theory. I just don't know if I'm ready for this. I'll likely only have one more long run after this before my half marathon, but this will be the longest. Neck gaiter, ear warmers, gloves. My electrolytes in these little bottles. I have Big Bar chews in there, and I'm getting ready to eat this granola bar and try to psych myself up for this. These long runs have been like, every single one that I've done, I've been like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. I've rescheduled multiple ones of these. Not like, just like move them a day or something, because like it's taken a lot of courage to do them. And it's silly because I do the run, walk, run method. So it's not like I can't stop to walk or anything, but that still seems overwhelmingly hard. It's gonna warm up about 20 degrees while I'm out there. Right now it is 20 degrees, I think. Maybe a couple degrees less. And that feels really cold when you're starting. But I will lose some of this headgear during this run. Let's do this, I guess. Over a mile in. It is cold. It's cold. It's a frosty run. Waiting for the sun. I'm only 3 miles in. I was a chunky kid from the time I was 3 and beyond. My dad also struggled. He had been a fat kid too, but when I was in 5th grade, he trained for a marathon, and he had been over 500 pounds, and he completed the marathon at over 300 pounds. And that year, any night that he was home, we would go for a 1-mile walk. I was on some sort of diet of some kind. I don't think anything formal, something my parents monitoring what I ate, and I do remember that I would eat like 3 of those chocolate dipped granola bars a day. Epitome of health. Anyway, I ended up losing a bunch of weight, but I also became like a strong kid, very fit. And in 6th grade, when I moved to a new school, I brought my tennis shoes as my show and tell. I told a story about how I would walk and how I had lost weight. I remember feeling good and strong, and you know those fitness tests that you take in elementary school and junior high. Well, I was like one of the top 6 performers in our school. There was a part of me, even though I was a very anxious child, that was thinking like maybe I'll even do sports in junior high. Even though it terrified me, I was like, I could do this. 6th grade came and went, And as I entered 7th grade, all the hormones are going. You know, my family was going through some really difficult times. And because of my dad's job, there wasn't a lot of time for things that we used to do. And in my fragile emotional state, I kind of fell out of love with fitness things. I was a pretty naturally active kid, even before this time. But I was a big kid, and we ate like a lot of families in the 90s did. At the beginning of 7th grade, we had to run the 1 mile test. And at that time, I was still kind of in athletic Katie mode. It was easy for me to kind of gain back a bunch of weight, even as a kid. And I felt that throughout that year. My gym clothes that I wore in the beginning of the year, I was busting out of them towards spring. My 7th grade square dance partner called me Jelly Rolls. I remember still having the confidence though and being like, okay, I'm strong though. I could squat the rack in that junior high. And this kid, he's a big kid too. And I remember being like, even at that age, being aware of like how ridiculous the notion was that you would like call people names. And I remember specifically it being him because I was like, how could you, man? You're a fat kid too. And even though these things were kind of happening, my body was changing, I had a lot of confidence that year. Even with everything going on with our family, I felt on top of the world. I had a ton of friends. I was doing all of these things I wanted to do. The dances, the sleepovers. But I remember when that confidence changed. At the end of the year, we had to do another mile test. And I remember dreading this. And sure enough, it was completely defeating. I just felt the kids racing past me. I felt slow, I felt embarrassed. And I ran like a 12:30 mile. Which, if I could do that now. Earlier in the year, I'd run like 9-minute miles. And so, that was pretty depressive after the run. But I was like, it's over, it's over. It's the last time I have to do that this year. I'm about to take this shirt off. It's only 32 degrees. My life continued. And then the next week we came back to gym class. All sat down in our circle to hear what we were gonna do that day. And I'm like, don't even care. It ain't gonna be the mile, so that's good. And that is when our gym teacher announced we were gonna do the mile again. But only the people whose time has had significantly increased over the year. Honestly, I don't have a ton of memories from my childhood. But I remember this moment, and I remember my heart rate just increasing, this panic setting in, and everyone kind of getting up to head towards the door. And me trying to see if I could just cut through the crowd to get to my teacher and tell her I can't do this. Sorry. Anyway, that moment didn't come. And I got out of the track and I was panicked. And I was near tears. And we started to run. So there was just a handful of us running. And the rest of the kids could sit and watch. I think they were doing this because they were like, oh, these people just didn't apply themselves. These kids didn't apply themselves the second time. They didn't even try. But to that point, that was the most humiliating 15 minutes of my life. I knew that these other kids were gonna finish before I was, and it was gonna be the whole class just watching me. And I held back my sobs for the first 3/4 of the mile. And then I couldn't anymore. By the time I reached the end, I was sobbing. I was hyperventilating. I just remember the look on my teacher's face. And I went over to her and through sobs, I was like, I just gained a lot of weight this year. I can't go as fast as anymore. And she said, you should have told me. An arm around my shoulder, but no comfort. And that was the first of several moments over the next year that made me fall out of love with activity and fitness and movement. No kid ever came up to me after that run and made fun of me. There wasn't a mean girl group that tried to tear me down because I was fat. Sure, I felt the judging eyes. I had run-ins with certain kids. Everyone has their own opinion of who they were in school, but I think I was mostly well-liked. I was annoying, I was naive, and I was insecure. But I was a really kind kid, and I think that helped me a lot. I feel like I was a pretty smart kid. I can reason through, or could reason through, when other kids were being jerks. But it was the things that adults did and said to me that made me believe I can do these things that I used to love to do. When I lost a bunch of weight a decade ago, I started running a lot. And honestly, it felt like I was taking my power back, you know? I had let myself believe that there were things that I just couldn't do. I wasn't good enough to do. I didn't deserve to do. And running changed my life. When I gained back a bunch of weight, I convinced myself again that I can no longer run. I was like, I'm just never gonna run again. I'm never going to do triathlons. I'm never gonna climb mountains. It's easy for me to return to that mindset. And I've done it time and time again. But in the throes of depression, it's the worst. And so I run 10 miles today, a half marathon in 2 weeks. Because I deserve it. And I'm capable. Alright, over 7 miles in. Finish this out with me. Last half mile. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Oh boy. Oh boy. How you feel?
Fast. How was it?
You know what? It's the best run I've had in a while.